Like it's all it is anymore. It's just grifting, you know,
Oh,
and it's
so bad.
Brutal to watch these people.
It's so biased too.
They're embarrassments. Hey, good morning. Welcome to the Stokastic.com MLB strategy show. Dave Loughran and Matt Belman taking you into the weekend. Yeah. Nothing interesting happened last night. Nothing notable worth talking about. Just a common Thursday with 4 baseball games and the Phillies blowing the lead to the Marlins at the bank. Right, Matt?
Yeah, nothing last night at all. Man, I'm thinking about the debate and just how many times, like, if Biden were coherent, he could have really taken advantage of some of the stuff Trump said. I know that we'll talk baseball on this show. Obviously, people don't.
Oh, there was a debate last night?
Yeah, there was.
Oh, I was not up till midnight watching CNN of all places. Definitely not.
I know you weren't. I saw one like meme of the CNN panel with Stephen A. Smith on it.
Yeah, pretty much. It was a wild night. We're screwed, man. I tweeted a picture. I was like, I'm just going to enjoy the fall of an empire. You know what I mean? I was out back drinking some beers, watching TV. Beautiful summer day. Suppose you can't ask for more than that. If I didn't have kids, I would embrace it. I'd pull the whole Tim Dillon, embrace the decline, the demise, but woo. All right. Yeah. Heck of a day. Anyway, happy to have you guys with us. Time to talk some baseball. We got 13 games, Matt. Huge slate. Only 2 6 o'clock games. So big ass slate of baseball. And yeah, we'll have some fun with it. Happy to have you guys with us. If you haven't done so, you don't mind, take a single second, atone for your sins this morning. Hit that thumbs up. The last thing. Look, might be one of the last things we do on this earth. It's coming to an end. So you could perish knowing I supported the stochastic team. And with that, I can go peacefully. Subscribe to the channel too. Leave a comment down below. If we can ever get these comments turned back on. Jordan, we got to figure that out. There has to be a workaround. Like there has to be a workaround for that. If you want to listen in podcast form, Apple Podcast, Spotify, we're out there. You know where to find us. All right, let's go. 13 games, Matt. First things first, from a pitching perspective, Is there a handful of guys that jump this? I like to start shows like this because then we can work our way down. When you have a slate this big, we kind of have to, weed out the gross stuff. Are there any guys that stand out to you in a big way, like that just jump off the page?
No, but I think how you were gonna phrase it, is there a group of guys that kind of stand out above the rest? Yes. So there's that, but there's not one guy that stands out for me at least.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, I was actually a little bit surprised to see that Logan Gilbert was the highest owned pitcher on this slate.
I'm
Maybe I
not.
should. Yeah, I mean, he's fantastic. Don't get me wrong. He's very good. I'll tell you what, though, I really thought that, especially after his last start, that
Over.
it would be Bailey Ober against Seattle today. The other side of this game, I thought it would be, and I know his price has come up, but I really thought it would be Bailey Ober in this spot against Seattle, just given how many strikeouts there are in this lineup. Now, to be fair, Ober's getting Ober's
Right.
essentially identical ownership to Logan Gilbert, but I thought he would be the highest owned pitcher just coming off two really great games and now a matchup against the highest strikeout team in baseball.
He might be. I think that, again, they're really close projected. And I wouldn't be surprised at all if when the slate actually locks, Ober is the highest owned pitcher on the slate just because of the savings from Gilbert. I do think that Gilbert's safer here, and the field will at least think he's safer. So I think there's something to that. He's really good at home. I think both those pitchers are in that group of guys that look better than the rest to me.
Oh, by the way, I don't know if you saw this, but Festa was in the winning lineup yesterday in the relay throw. Okay. You know who was in the third? Who was in the third place lineup?
No, I don't.
Chad Kuhl.
Wow, and he only pitched like 3 innings.
Yeah, 3 scoreless with 3. I know. Chad Kuhl
Damn.
was in the third place lineup. Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
Did Atlanta finish with? Did Atlanta win 1-0 or lose 1-0?
Lose. They lost 1-0. Luis Robert hit a solo homer in the first, and that was all the scoring.
By the way, this is why on those short slates like yesterday, we talk about, being able and being willing to, go against the grain. Atlanta
You got to be comfortable
runs.
with the uncomfortable on those slates for sure.
0 runs. Crazy. But yeah, I have 25% Bailey Ober right now. Matter of fact, though, my highest exposed pitcher is not Slade Ciccone. We'll talk about him. It is not Bailey Ober, and it is not Logan Gilbert. As it stands at 11:10 Eastern time, it's Charlie Morton.
That's the one that surprises me. He's the highest graded, he's the highest ranked pitcher in our top pitcher tool. And like on paper, I don't view him as good of an option as Gilbert and Ober probably, but the tools would say that's foolish because he is pretty clearly the top guy. Maybe that changes, but Morton was already in that mix for me. I mean, he's good spot at home against Pittsburgh. I think he really belongs in that Gilbert Ober grouping. I don't really feel strongly about like any of those guys over the others, and I'll throw Logan Webb in there. So the top 4, I think, all look good, and they all look kind of similar to me.
Logan Webb pulling 17% against the Dodgers. It's interesting.
Yeah, but it's great ballpark for pitching, obviously. Webb is throughout his career been much better at home. And, you take Mookie Betts out of this lineup. Like, again, the top of it is still awesome with Freeman, Smith, Ohtani, obviously, Teoscar's back. Kind of falls off a cliff after that. And Webb is good. So I'm a little surprised that he's getting as much love as the other guys. But on the other hand, I'm not really, because he's at home. He's cheaper than Gilbert. He's a little bit cheaper than Morton. He's been good. He's a pitcher the DFS community likes. So I'm a little bit surprised, but then I think about it and I'm like, I just don't think there are that many good options outside of this grouping and then Ciccone.
It's just not very often you find a guy with a below league average K rate at 9,300. Like you look at StatCast, 41 percentile strikeout rate. Everything else is good. Don't get me wrong. Like, he doesn't walk guys. He gets a lot of ground balls. He does a lot of things great. 41st percentile strikeout rate. Pretty low for a guy that's $9,300 against the Dodgers.
Totally not the normal type of pitcher you'd want to spend 9,300 on. And I think if you don't want to play him because of that, you're totally in line. And I don't think you're wrong at all. I do think that he's got an established enough track record of just being a damn good pitcher where you can overlook that a little bit and count on him to go deep into games and stuff. Certainly, you're right. I don't think his ceiling is as high as Ober here or Gilbert probably. But I do think for a matchup against the Dodgers, his floor is higher than a lot of other pitchers would be. But all that being said, your points are well taken. And that's ultimately why I have him probably in the lowest of that group behind Gilbert, Ober, and Morton.
How popular is the Gilbert Slade Ciccone pairing going to be? It feels like that's just going to be massive chalk today.
I think that'll be popular. I also do think Ober is going to get a lot of love though. Like,
well, you could, I mean, sure, flip Gilbert for Ober. I'm saying like that Ciccone price point at $6,200 against Oakland in a park where homers aren't really hit very often. It just feels like one of those, high 8 and 9K guys with Ciccone is going to be really popular.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. Because the other part of that is Drew Thorpe, another cheap guy who could potentially get ownership. There's weather concerns there. And then the other guy we have getting ownership in that range is Frankie Montas. I can't imagine like their ownership ends up as close as we have it projected. I'm with you. I think Ciccone could end up, in higher dollar stuff, 30 to 40% owned. Easy.
There's certain guys that I'm just not really interested in getting to. A lot of them. It's
like everyone else.
Isn't that crazy? Like, you're not getting the Randy Vasquez against Boston in Boston. It's not happening. JP Sears against Arizona. Tristan McKenzie. He's always a fascinating one to me because he does get strikeouts, but recently I don't know what to make of him. Like, he hasn't gone more than 3 innings in back-to-back games. Pitch count has been low. The home runs for him have been a serious issue of late. It's really uncanny because you look at him over his first 7 starts. Well, let me see. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Sorry. He allowed 6 home runs over his first 9 starts and 11 over his last 6. Like, he's been getting tagged by the long ball a ton lately. Kansas City bats have been dormant for the most part over the last couple of weeks, which is the only reason I mention it. But even so, you can't trust McKenzie right now. So many of these guys, because I love digging to the bottom of the barrel, see if we can find a guy in that cheaper price point, right, that isn't getting ownership, while a guy like Ciccone, who's been terrible, particularly at home, is getting 25%. Are there any of them down there? Like that's what I want to talk about. Are there any guys down there in the 6 or 7K range that we can target?
So for me, not really. I mean, you can just because it's MLB and Ciccone isn't anything special himself. But a couple problems. One, there's a lot of bad pitching on this slate. So Ciccone isn't awful, but he's not nearly as bad as some of the other guys. I mean, you talked about Randy Vasquez, Kenta Maeda, Zach Plesac. I think Tristan McKenzie's interesting. I'm not sure what to make of him either. He's still pitching with the torn ligament in his elbow. I can't imagine that's not affecting him, but if it was, I'd imagine he wouldn't be pitching. So really don't know what to make of him. I think the case for McKenzie today is that all these pitchers are pretty shitty down here. And we at least know he has talent and can strike guys out, even if you don't feel comfortable with it. Ciccone is okay. He's like one of the cheapest of all of them and is in the best spot. So he just looks a lot better than all those other cheap options. The case for all those other guys is that they're not Slade Ciccone and they're not going to be 30% owned,
Yeah. What about Drew Thorpe against Colorado?
I like Thorpe.
We just saw Spencer Arrighetti go out there, throw 7 innings, 10 strikeouts against this Rockies team. Hunter Brown, who's actually good, but Hunter Brown mowed them down. Arrighetti's been terrible. He was amazing. Drew Thorpe, I don't, I don't know if there's anything particularly special here. He's coming off a phenomenal start against Detroit, though. He's only made 3 major league appearances. Thorpe might, like, he's getting 12%. I totally understand it. It's not in Colorado. It's in Chicago. There's probably a decent argument to be made there outside of the weather, where you could be getting some rain. Thorpe at a low 7K price point actually makes sense.
Makes a lot of sense. The only thing I don't like is the weather.
It looks bad right now.
It looks, yeah, who knows? It's so early that, we don't want to presume anything, but if this game is good to go, yeah, he's cheap. He's in a great matchup. He has an amazing changeup. Hasn't really struck out a lot of guys so far in the majors, but such a good matchup. And honestly, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I don't think Dakota Hudson.
I knew that's where you were going. And someone in chat just asked too.
I mean, we're talking about all these crappy pitchers, and I'm not saying I'm going to play Dakota Hudson, but you talk about what Arrighetti and Hunter Brown just did against the Rockies. It's the same story against the White Sox. Gavin Stone, complete game shutout. And Hudson is actually the cheapest pitcher on the slate. You don't usually have the stone cold lowest pitcher on a slate in arguably the absolute best matchup. So again, Hudson's not good. I don't think you can play him with confidence here or anywhere, but obviously a great ballpark upgrade. This White Sox lineup is awful, and they're even worse against righties. So yeah, I mean, again, I don't mean to talk glowingly about Hudson, but it goes back to your point, like kind of digging in the weeds a little bit. If someone like Slade Ciccone is going to get so much ownership, I don't think you're crazy to pivot to Dakota Hudson.
I don't think it's nuts. The only thing I hate is, you know what his K minus, excuse me, you know what his K minus BB rate is this year?
I have to imagine it's so bad. If you're asking me, tell me.
Take a guess.
Man, he's straight. He might have one of the lowest K rates in the league. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Tell me.
0.9%.
That's why. Yeah, he stinks.
But I mean, that's really the concern.
I think the White Sox bats are totally viable against him.
They are. I would assume that if we were to take qualified pitchers, he might have the lowest K rate in the league.
I agree with that. I mean, because we both look at this stuff all the time, and I can't remember seeing one lower than his, we'll round up 12% strikeout percentage.
Let's see. I lost.
Yeah, honestly, I might take back what I said about Hudson, because and I don't throw this out. He might be one of the 5 worst pitchers in baseball this year.
He's been really bad. 11% K rate is kind of unfathomable. Pretty much for him to get there, you need him to go deep into the game and just not allow any runs.
Which if there was a matchup for it, it's this one.
Sure.
I think if you're playing him, you're not even playing Dakota Hudson per se. You're playing insert pitcher against the White Sox,
Yeah. Oh yeah. 7% swinging strike rate. It's pretty rough.
It's funny too, because sorry, but I remember like his best start of the year was 2 weeks ago on May 31st. Went into LA and beat the Dodgers 4-1, put up 21 fantasy points.
I know.
It's like, that's just so MLB, right?
Ronel Blanco, I mean, he's another guy up in that top tier price range. I think it's tough to get there. Kikuchi against the Yankees. I did get to him earlier in the season against the Yankees just because he has decent strikeout stuff, but
I remember that.
Yeah, it's still hard.
He was great that day.
Yeah, he was good. But, sometimes you got to know when to walk away.
I feel like you've been a great Kikuchi reader this year, actually, on that note.
Let's hope, because I don't imagine I'm getting to a lot of Yusei Kikuchi today. Let's see. 6%. I'm with the field. You know who I am getting a lot of, though? Same price range, Nick Pivetta.
He's like the odd man out for me. I don't hate that, though, because he's like his upside is right there with the top
Yep.
guys on this slate. And you take Tatis out of the San Diego lineup, like they don't strike out is the problem I have with using pitchers against San Diego. But on a slate like this, I think Pivetta is firmly in play.
It is so strange how hit or miss this guy is. I love him for DFS and I hate him for DFS for the same reason. You love him because there are going to be times where he just completely breaks a slate. And other times where there's just nothing. You know, you look at his K rates by game. It's like 25%, 13, 18, 38, 43, 15, 42, 40, 5, not 45, 40, and then 5, 15, 48. It's ridiculous. He's all over the map. He is all over the map. So you tell me, it's a weird spot, but Nick Pivetta has legitimate strikeout upside. You know, he has 8+ strikeouts in 5 of 11 starts. And in all of the others, he has 5 or less. 3, 1, 3, 4, 4, 5. You don't know what you're going to get from the guy, but when he's on, he is on. That's all I can say about him.
You know what else is to like about him here? His price. Like, pitching pricing doesn't matter that much, so I'm not like using him because of this, but he shouldn't be cheaper than Stroman, 200 cheaper than Kikuchi, same price as Tyon and Landon Knack. Like, he's the best DFS pitcher out of that group, pretty clearly.
Yeah, right. It's the same thing the other day with Hunter Brown being cheaper than like all of these other pitchers that are no good. Sometimes the pitching's just broken. Ryan asked, Laffy, can you look at FanDuel top pitchers? Yeah, Jordan, pull that up. I don't mind doing that either. We can do that real quick. Morton's getting the most owner. He's 8,800. So yeah, I mean, Morton's 8,800. Logan Gilbert's 10.5. Bailey Ober's 9,800. Blanco 96. There just seems to be a clear disparity in pricing on FanDuel. Clear disparity in pricing. Look at that. 8,800 on Morton in a spot where, you know, Pittsburgh, according to our tools, has a bottom 5 implied total on the slate. Minnesota, San Francisco, Dodgers, and Seattle behind them, or behind Pittsburgh, but all pretty similar, like between 3, 8, and 4. We got them at 4-1. Yeah, I can see why Morton's getting that ownership. 8,800 compared to those guys is pretty cheap.
So pricing on FanDuel is usually more condensed, and Morton is at like the low range today when he shouldn't be. And he even looks better to me on FanDuel and DraftKings. The win equity means more, and obviously Atlanta's a big favorite here. So I think Morton pretty clearly looks like the top option. It'd be the same guys for me that I'd look at to pivot. You know, Gilbert, Ober, we just talked about Pivetta, and then Ciccone. I mean, Cicconi's really cheap on FanDuel, so I do think he's viable there too.
Sure. Yeah. What's his price at? 6,900.
Mm-hmm.
It's just funny when you have these, you know, one pitcher sites, because like he's getting 6% ownership, but he's still the 6th highest owned pitcher.
Yeah, ton of opportunity cost, obviously, because of the one pitcher site. But again, Arizona's probably I don't want to say huge favorite, but I bet they're minus like 140 here. They are, yeah, minus 155. So I was even a little bit shallow.
Yeah.
So nice win equity for Ciccone. Like, I just think that with, you know, Alec Marsh, Jamison Tyon, like all these, Frankie Montas is like 8K. I think Ciccone looks like the best pivot.
Speaking of win equity, Atlanta's the biggest favorite on this slate.
Mm-hmm.
How'd that work out yesterday for him?
Not so well. This team, that team has been pretty underwhelming. I don't want to say bad because they haven't been bad, but they've been underwhelming for sure.
For sure. Oh my God, yeah. I mean, the injuries didn't help either, but you know, they've suffered some real injuries. You lose Strider and Acuna. Ooh, that's brutal.
Yeah, tough go for them for sure.
I'm here for it though.
Yeah, hopefully the Phillies avoided anything major yesterday. I know Schwarber and Harper left the game.
I know. Not good. They've dealt with some injuries. I mean, Realmuto is going to be down a month. They lost Trey Turner for over a month. They've lost some guys for sure. The pitching has stayed healthy though, and that's what's mattered. Other than Taijuan Walker, but
He
fine with
stinks.
me.
Yeah.
You know, any other pitchers?
I don't think so. I mean, as of right now, I think my group, and just after talking about it with you, I think I'm going to kick out Webb and throw in Pivetta because, yeah, San Diego doesn't strike out, but they're not the Dodgers. And Pivetta is the better DFS pitcher than Logan Webb and $1,000 cheaper. So for me, if I'm making lineups right now, I'd be using, some combination of Morton, Gilbert, Ober, Pivetta, Ciccone.
There's one more guy we have to talk about. I mean, we've done a pretty decent job so far, just kind of covering everyone. I'm not getting into the weeds with guys like Colin Rea, and some of these other guys. Marcus Stroman against his former team, 87.
I know who you're going to ask about.
Who?
Scherzer.
No, but that's a good one to talk about. I was going to ask you, and you mentioned him. You alluded to it earlier. 20% owned Frankie Montas today.
Yeah, I don't get that one. I really don't.
He's cheap. Like, I understand that, but Montas is not having a great season at all. I mean, he's been, I'll be fair. He's been probably a $6,500 pitcher, if you want to say that, relative to where everybody else is priced. 18% K rate, 9% K minus BB rate. There's a lot of stuff here that just doesn't get you very excited, right? A single digit swinging strike rate. I'm not saying St. Louis is a good baseball team right now. They're not. But this also isn't like, when I think about St. Louis as a matchup, you'll probably agree here. It's not Seattle with the strikeout upside. It's not Oakland. It's not Colorado, White Sox. It's not even Cincinnati for righties because Cincinnati strikes out a ton and the upside is massive there. They're just kind of there. Like, I look at St. Louis always as just this neutral matchup, and they have a 4.7 team total today.
I'm with you. I actually think the matchup is maybe even a little worse for Montas than you do. But we're on the same page for sure. Like, St. Louis has actually gotten things going a little bit. Mason Wynn leading off, and Alec Burleson in the 2-hole has been one of the best hitters in baseball over the past, obviously small sample size, but like week or two. So that's lengthening their lineup, and Montas hasn't been good. I greatly prefer Ciccone here. If you told me Ciccone was going to be 40% owned and Montas was 10% owned, yeah, maybe I could start thinking about going to Montas instead. But the way we're projecting it is they're more or less the same. Give me all the Ciccone in that situation.
I agree. By the way, I mean, I gotta say here, this is pretty funny. So without looking at the numbers, I just referred to them as a neutral matchup. Listen to this. Their active roster versus righties, there's 30 teams in baseball, right? Is 15th in WRC plus.
That's amazing.
15th in WOBA and 15th in ISO.
So they're the definition of average.
This is literally the most neutral matchup you could get. Yeah. Matter of fact, you could argue that it's below average because they're 22nd in strikeout rate against righties and they're 4th in walk rate. So I would actually put this as a below average matchup for Frankie Montas with the way that St. Louis has been playing. They're
right.
Middle of the road team that strikes out at actually on the active roster, a below average clip.
Yeah, and again, maybe this doesn't mean too much, but they're playing a lot better than they were 2 months ago, where this matchup might have looked better. So those numbers are the whole season. Maybe you can, artificially bump them up right now because they're just swinging better bats throughout their entire lineup, really.
For sure. Meanwhile, Oakland has the second highest K rate. One of the highest K rates in baseball. So
if you wanted to tell me that, if someone, not you, wanted to tell me that Ciccone's floor was lower because Oakland hits home runs, I could buy that because it's not like Ciccone is anything special. But again, I think right now, today, he is the better pitcher than Montas. His underlying numbers suggest that, and he's in the better matchup. So it's not really close for me.
By the way, I'm an idiot. I was looking at 2023.
I mean, it happens to the best of us. So where are they in 24?
15th in ISO.
It don't matter. It's the same.
12th in WRC plus, 12th in WOBA, but they strike out a little bit more. So they're striking out. Yeah, six and strikeouts, but above average in WOBA, WRC plus, 15th in ISO. So yeah, Fangraphs just reverted back to 2023 on me. I'm not sure what happened. Either way, it's a neutral spot.
Montas's numbers are being boosted so hard by that starting cores also.
Gotta be, right?
That's crazy.
Oakland has the second highest K rate versus righties. You know, they strike out a ton. So even with the ownership, I definitely, Cicconi's not even that much. If this really holds up throughout the day and Cicconi's getting only 5% more ownership than Montas, it's a pretty easy decision for me.
Yeah, same. 100% with you. I mean, I've talked about Ciccone in the past, and again, he's not great, but he's way too cheap and for the spot that he's in compared to the other pitchers on this slate.
Did you want to talk about Scherzer?
No, I didn't. I just thought that that's where you were going to go because he's obviously Max Scherzer and he's not getting any ownership, but you don't know about his limit, and it's Baltimore. I hardly ever use pitchers against Baltimore.
He was fantastic against Kansas City, but he threw 57 pitches. By the way, wildly efficient. 57 pitches through 5 innings. Really great stuff, but 9,100. What could you really expect out of him? 75 maybe? At the most 80 pitches?
Yeah.
Right? Coming off the
I'm with you
IL.
About Kansas City also. And I actually kind of like them against McKenzie today, but they have been over the past just 2-week sample, maybe the worst offense in baseball.
Been bad. And they had some gorgeous matchups against Miami and plenty of other spots.
Texas.
As good a hitting weather as you could imagine for bats. Like it's perfect. And they still found ways to screw it up. So I hear you. Baltimore, though, I'm good.
Yes.
Like a clear pitch count. We don't know what, but a clear pitch count on Scherzer. He's still one of the best strikeout pitchers in baseball, but I'm not getting there. I think we covered everyone. We tried to for you guys on this show. Oh, there is one more. We got plenty of time anyway. But Landon Knack. Any interest in Landon Knack against San Francisco in a pitcher-friendly park?
No, I used him on the last slate he was on actually, and he was decent, but they will not extend him. Like, I can't remember how I'm going to pull him up right now. He threw 73 pitches. I don't think he's going to throw much more than that. You know, it's this typical Dodgers not wanting to extend their young starters. And yeah, fine matchup, great ballpark, obviously, but it's just a price tag for me. He's too close to like a Nick Pivetta, who, yeah, you could certainly say that Knack is safer than Pivetta, but I'm looking to win tournaments, and I don't think he has, 3/4 of the upside that Pivetta does, to be quite honest.
I need you guys to do a favor for me, okay? For those of you watching this show right now. I need you to start throwing your home run picks into chat, okay? Think about these carefully because we're going to build a home run parlay. And Matt, here's what's going to happen. It's going to hit tonight. And Josh, when he returns from the land of ire, is going to be furious that he was not a part of this. Nothing would please me more than us hitting the 3-man homer parlay today while Josh is gone after we've been attempting this for over a week now. I am going with Rafael Devers against Randy Vasquez. I love this spot. He has dominated right-handed pitching. You could count on one hand the amount of lefty bats, or actually not lefty bats, the amount of hitters who have hit righties for as much power as Devers. You could count on one hand. You're talking guys like Judge, Ohtani, Gunnar Henderson, Devers. Like those are your guys. Vasquez is allowing 3 home runs per 9 to righties or to lefties this season. 3 home runs per 9. Utilizes 4-seamer changeup more than any pitcher more than any other pitches versus lefties. Devers crushing them for power. Both of those pitches versus righties this year. Give me Rafael Devers. Matt, I'm going to find the best sports book and then we'll work from there. Cause I bet it earlier, but the odds change on these things. So let's see. My guess is like plus 280 or something wild, but I would still bet it. Oh, wow. I should have considered that. I bet total bases over, not home runs. Plus, they didn't even have it up earlier. Plus 390. Do not hate that at all for Devers. Plus 390 to homer in this game. Do you have anybody you like?
So it has to be an over home run, right?
Yeah, you're not getting the minus 800 to not homer.
Yeah, that was stupid. Yeah, I got a couple I like. I feel like there's pressure on me now, but
There's a lot of pressure on you.
I am going to go with Juan Soto.
All right. Against Stroman, huh?
No, against Kikuchi.
Oh, right. Juan Soto is on the same team as Stroman. However, Stroman, formerly of the Toronto Blue Jays, you can understand my confusion. Okay, you're going lefty.
I am. I see pretty good odds on that right now. I think because of that lefty.
Okay. Let me see what chat has here. Ozuna, Ketel Marte, Francisco Alvarez, Judge, Contreras Bros, Gunnar Henderson. Couple Martes in here, couple Ozunas. A bunch of you guys threw Devers in there as well. Let's go. All right, Jordan, set the poll up. Go Ketel Marte, Marcelo Ozuna, and did we have two people say Riley Green? And Riley Green. Yeah, let's go with that. Einsteinium with a super chat. Lavi, and yeah, throw that poll up. We'll wait a few minutes. Guys, hit a vote. Let's get this. I'm fine with all three of them, but let's get the right one. We'll find the best odds. Hopefully it'll be on FanDuel. What are the odds for Soto on FanDuel?
Hold on.
Plus 430. Okay. What was the question from Lavi? How do you feel about Palante against the Cincy team getting ownership? I mean, he's an extreme ground ball pitcher for sure. He's been fine. He's been okay. Outside of that, a couple of starts, you've seen a few decent performances. He threw 95 pitches last time. I just tell you what, I took an under on his strikeout props or on a strikeout prop the other week. Last start, as a matter of fact, under 4.5. And of course he went for 5. Like if you look at his career K rate and his swinging strike stuff, his strikeouts actually seem inflated to me. Like I don't love Palante today.
Same. I tried to go back to that picking on Cincinnati last night after Luis Ortiz was my hero the other day, and it did not work out so well with Miles Michaelis. I'm sure Palante is somewhere in between those guys. I mean, Ortiz threw up like 30 fantasy points. Michaelis had minus 15. So I would have to imagine that Palante falls somewhere in the middle, but he doesn't strike anyone out. He's not particularly good. Like, I think the case for him would be he's not getting any ownership, but he's not even at a price point that's desirable to me. I'd rather play Landon Knack personally. They have the exact same top 2 pitcher percentage. And I don't really like either of them, but if I had to choose, I'd play Knack over Palante. I think Knack's the better pitcher right now.
Wow, this poll's actually pretty close right now. I went Ozuna, but I'd be fine with any of them. Ketel Marte getting votes. Riley Green getting a ton, 43%. We'll see where this lands, see what the odds look like. Keith Woodfork. Corey Seager, dark horse pick for a bomb. I'm pretty sure Suarez has allowed like no power. He did give up a homer last game. That's his first home run. That's the second home run he's allowed in 53 and a third innings. Better lefty power park than righty power park for sure. There's something to be said about that. I don't hate it. I mean, let's see. Are we getting good odds on Seager? What is he? Plus 420. We have the true odds at plus 457 though, so it doesn't look great.
I'm not seeing any plus EV bet on Odd Chopper though for a home run. Are you?
Not right now, no.
Yeah,
but this one's like pretty heavy negative EV. Just haven't seen a lot of power allowed from Albert Suarez. Speaking of power, speaking of bats, where are we starting? Where are we ending with stacks today? Because there are currently 6 teams with 5+ implied totals. Cleveland, Boston, Kansas City against McKenzie, Atlanta against Perez, Detroit, and Arizona.
Yeah, so I think this kind of falls and piggybacks what we were talking about with pitching. There's a lot of crappy pitchers today. So as such, there's going to be a bunch of good offenses to look at. And I think that's totally the case tonight. I think probably the team to start with is Boston, because they're the only team right now projected to be double-digit owned as a stack. I get it. I think they're over-owned for sure, as our tools would imply. But Vasquez isn't good. Great ballpark for hitting. Boston has been a lot better recently. They look really good. But so does Cleveland, Detroit, Kansas City. Atlanta looks pretty good. But I do think the top 4 of Cleveland, Detroit, Boston, Kansas City all look comparable. You know, Cleveland right now is tops in our tools. I'm cool with that. I don't really see it like they're by far the top option, but I do like them here.
Yeah, and the highest stack score we have of any team is, Detroit against Zach Plesac. It's a good power park in LA. It really is. I mean, ever since they changed shit around there, it's become a totally different park for power. I think it's top 5 for lefty and righty home runs, Matt. I think.
I like Detroit a lot here. Plesac's not good either, so you're obviously getting a nice ballpark upgrade for Detroit. The problem with Detroit is their lineup stinks. So
yes, for sure.
I think I like mini stacks more. Like the top 3, Vierling, Keith, Riley Green, all look good to me.
Angel Stadium for homers is 4th according to the StatCast park factors, and 4th for lefties and 9th for righties. So still top 10. Yeah. And it looks like Riley Green's winning this poll.
Yeah, not shocking. Although all 3 of those guys look good.
We need a few more votes though. Yeah, we have Ketel Marte at 36%, Riley Green at 38%, Ozuna at 26%. If you haven't voted yet, get a vote in there. Take a second. Sue, how many votes do we have, Jordan? We have 40. Let's get to 50 votes and then we'll call it. We got 42. All right. So we need 8 more votes to get to 50 votes. And then I'll load these up and get this one going. Because my guess is, so who do we have right now? You have Soto, I have Devers. All right. Devers, let me get Soto in here. Man, you went lefty.
I was just trying to find one of the best. I could change him if that's allowed right now.
No. I was just not at all.
Well, when you said it was 420, I'm just looking at Odd Chopper and saw 500. So
yeah, it depends. If you have someone else you like, we can replace it.
Yeah, Eloy Jimenez is actually it says he's plus 500 and his true odds are plus 503. So I think that's about the best we'll get right now.
Okay, sure. So we're switching to,
Eloy, he didn't homer yesterday. That was Robert, but it's clearly in a much better spot against Dakota Hudson. And that piggybacks right into what I want to talk about for stacks next, which is the White Sox and Rockies.
go for it.
I think both sides of this game are wildly in play. Two bad offenses. I'll give Thorpe the benefit of the doubt and say that he's good. We don't know exactly how good he is yet, but two awful bullpens. A lot of times in sports, when you see two crappy teams play, weird outcomes occur. A lot of times the over smashes, sometimes the under, no one can score. I think weird stuff can happen when you've got a White Sox Rockies series. First, Dakota Hudson stinks. Talked about him earlier. I think he's in play because he's so cheap, but the best part of this game in my eyes is the White Sox bats. Even if you don't want to full stack them, just talked about Eloy, Luis Robert. Hudson's not good no matter where he's pitching. So the White Sox look good here. And then on the other side, I don't hate Colorado. If Thorpe ends up getting more love, they'll look better. But he's very much unknown, not striking guys out at the major league level. And I know he's had 3 starts. He pitched well last time out in Detroit, but got shellacked the start before that in Arizona. So it's not like he's impervious to getting hit. Clearly, you take the Thorpe side over the Rockies, but nothing would really surprise me in this game. So that opens it up for me to look at both offenses. Ultimately, though, I think the only one I could actually play is the White Sox. And they look pretty good here. 4th highest stack score on the board. Like, I don't mind some pieces of Chicago at all.
I don't either. The only concern I have is the weather in this spot.
Yeah, same.
But I got Jimenez in there. It looks like, did Marte win this? Yep. Yes, he did. 41% at plus 330. I got to make sure the best odds are on FanDuel. We're not giving up value where we don't have to. Let's see. Yes, sir. Plus 340, as a matter of fact. Plus 360 on BetMGM. So do you think if the weather holds, this Colorado-Chicago game, more on the Chicago side, is one of your highest exposed stacks?
I don't know about that. I think that, again, kind of like Detroit, I like mini stacks, one-offs better, like the top of the lineup. The bottom of the White Sox lineup is pretty terrible. So playing minimal lineups, I'm not sure, like 5-man stack, they're going to be one of my highest. But I can say the other team in Chicago will be. I love the Cubs today, and I don't think they're going to get any love.
All right. Plus 1,300. This is plus 1,300 for a Devers, Jimenez, Marte home run. Plus 1,300. What's that? Yep. Yeah, I was just rounding up. All right. I got 10 on it. I'm also betting that Devers home run straight as well.
So what is it? Devers, Eloy, and Cattell?
Yep.
Okay.
That's it. Einstein said Thorpe's getting ownership, so I prefer the Rockies. I get that. I really do. I mean, we have no idea what to expect out of Thorpe.
He's like not really getting ownership, though, would be my only counter to that.
I thought he was at like 13%.
I mean, is that really enough?
No,
to
he's
wanna
not
pick up?
super.
Like-
No, he's not super popular. It's like the 6th highest, 7th highest owned pitcher. Not crazy, but I don't think Colorado is a team that you avoid entirely on a slate like this.
I agree. I just don't think it's the premise of like, oh, Thorpe's getting ownership, so like I want to use Rockies, like, because I just don't. I think that's a kind of a fool's errand that a lot of people run into. Like, I don't think that Thorpe's getting enough ownership for it to matter, and you've got 26 offenses today, so like, I wouldn't just be rostering the Rockies because Thorpe is getting a little bit of love. That's just me, though.
I get it. I mean, by the way, I don't have much Rockies at all. The 4 teams that I have the most of right now: Detroit, number 1, Cleveland, number 2, Arizona, number 3, and the White Sox, number 4.
Yeah, I get that. I do like the White Sox here. And I like all the other teams you mentioned. The other one that I like a lot that I don't think is going to get ownership is the Cubs. they're kind of my sneaky tournament stack tonight.
Are they just virtually unowned?
Yeah, they're virtually unowned because they're kind of pricey, but Colin Rea is not good. And Cubs showed me some buying signs over the yesterday and in the past couple of days in San Francisco. So I'm gonna try to get on them when no one else will.
Yeah, Steven, I'm not throwing a unit on that. No. It would be sick. That would be 100 to win 13,000. I'll do it if we one of these days come up with one that we just love. If that's the case, sure. But this one, it's not bad. It's not bad. Jake said, pick another one and round robin this. Yeah, I guess you could.
And you could round robin a three-way too.
What?
You could round robin a three-way if you wanted.
Yeah, but he probably wants to do by threes or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you clearly have many more parlays if you add another, but I don't know.
Yeah, if we have 4, you get what? Six 2-leg parlays with a 4-leg parlay or round
You get
robin?
you get 6 2-ways
And
four three-ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like I'm keen to this. If you're doing $100 round robin on a 3-team round robin, it'd be $400. On a 4-team, $1,100.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's an inch. People love round robins.
Yeah, they do.
They're fun.
I was just seeing something yesterday. I never saw the math on this, that like, people just love parlays in general. If you do a 7-team parlay, or let's just say a 5-team parlay, you're 5 times more likely to go I can't remember what the math is now, so I'll have to find it and send it to you because I'm messing this up.
What was the general?
The concept of like how much more likely you are to go 4 of 5 than 5 of 5, or 6 of 7 than 7 of 7. Clearly everyone knows that, but the math.
So you're saying it was almost kind of like eye popping at just how much higher. Yeah.
Yes. Exactly.
Rob Live said, give us some stolen base props. Dude, the other day, we were on the Gunnar Henderson homer. We were on the Gunnar Henderson over total bases. We cleared all them easy. He had a hell of a game. But I remember I was like locking the Gunnar Henderson stolen base at plus, I think it was like 450. He gets on to start the game in the bottom of the first, Matt. Singles. And Carrasco threw over like 3 times. And I go, man, we're going to get this right away. We're going to get it. Never did, because everything he hit after that was an extra base hit. But I haven't looked in the stolen base props today, Rob. I haven't. One thing, like if you're digging into stolen base props, I don't know, some of you guys may care about this, some of you may not. Obviously use our tools at OddsShopper. We have stolen base props and plus EV spots. You can get in cheap for a week, for a month, link in the description and in chat for OddsShopper. Join our Discord too. It's a lot of fun. All the picks, all the community. But one thing you can do is you can go on StatCast or Baseball Savant. They have, all of these leaderboards for how good catchers have been at limiting runs. I used to use Baseball Prospectus for this, but it's better over at Baseball Savant. You can see how good they are at, preventing stolen bases, how good pitchers are at preventing stolen bases outside of just the basic, like caught stealing and stolen bases allowed numbers. You could really use that and then start looking at certain players from certain teams that have, good stolen base upside. Sure, some of that's baked into the odds, Matt, but there are ways now. Like you can really dig into what battery gives up more stolen bases at a higher clip and is just bad at throwing them out.
Yeah, you can certainly get pretty much as deep into the weeds as you want with this type of stuff, which ultimately is what makes sports betting so much fun, is like there's no cap to what you can or can't do.
Pretty much. Any other bats, any other stacks you want to get into here?
Yeah, just want to say it again, the Cubs, like they're right now one of my top stacks. Colin Rea is not good, and they're going to be like unowned. So I don't think like on paper they look that much better than a bunch of the others we've talked about, but I think that's kind of the theme of this slate. Outside of Cleveland, Detroit, and Boston, maybe you could throw Kansas City in there and Atlanta. Like everyone else looks very similar besides the bottom tier.
They do. And you're right, Steven. He only threw over twice. You're right.
Well, I think you only can throw over twice. Right?
I know that. Yeah. That's what he was saying. Yeah.
Speaking of Gunnar, though, again, this is just in my mind. Every time that the Orioles are facing like a really good right-handed pitcher, he homers. So I almost picked him to homer tonight because of that. But don't be surprised when Gunnar leads off tonight with a home run.
Okay. I think he homers every night.
Yeah, true. He's so good. And I was thinking about that Witt versus Henderson question. You can't go wrong. They're two of the top, maybe 3 players in baseball. I do think Gunnar, though, is like maybe the best.
He's ridiculous.
He's so good.
He's ridiculous. He's amazing. One other team, though, I was surprised that I wasn't really getting any of this. All right. So obviously we're going to want to see what the lineup looks like as always, but Boston has a pretty great matchup against Randy Vasquez.
They're just over-owned, which is probably why you're not getting a ton of them right now.
I hear you, man, but like 5 lefties in the top 6 of this lineup, they could just destroy him.
Yeah, definitely.
He has a 533 WOBA allowed to left-handed hitters this season. 533. That's a astronomical number.
Yeah, actually kind of surprised.
Sorry, 244 ISO. And like, even if you go, yeah, but he's been unlucky. Sure. 499 expected WOBA, 245 X ISO against lefties. Just terrible numbers. 3 home runs per 9, 9% strikeout rate versus lefties this year. And if there was ever a spot for lefties to just go nuts, it's here. When you've got projected to have 5 lefties in the top 6.
Yeah, a little bit surprised that they're not the highest team in the top sack tool. Like Marsh is better than Vasquez. Like, I don't know. Maybe when this updates, Boston will look even better. But yeah, do yourself a chuckle or you'll have a giggle after this if you look up Gunnar Henderson's high school when we're done with the show.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I wish I was getting a little bit more Boston. You're not wrong that they're over-owned, but hell, what a matchup this is. What a good matchup this is. Highest owned team by a mile, though, huh? Anyway, appreciate you guys hanging out as always. DraftKings pick 6 too. We had somebody in Odd Shopper in our Discord hit like a huge one, $5 in the 1600 yesterday. Just went over to Odd Shopper, used the Pick'em tool, the DraftKings pick 6 tool, the optimizer. Literally just hit generate, generated a lineup. Turn 5 in the 1600. Love seeing that working. I think it might be coming to PA too. But you guys are already over at DraftKings. So there's no sign up. There's no, anything like that. But if nothing else, check out the Odd Shopper tools, the optimizer. If you're using Pick 6, if you're playing there, the DraftKings Pick 6 optimizer has been crushing for the boys in Discord. Been tracking that every day. 5 in the 1600 for something like that. It's very cool the way they've done this. You can get big payouts over there. Static props as well. Anyway, thanks, guys. Tonight, live before lock, Eric and Greg, they got you covered. 13-game slate, so make sure to join them. And I think, Matt, no better time to join live before lock than tonight, where you've got a few spots where weather actually looks a little bit squirrely. Like there's some probably 4 spots where weather could be a real issue.
Good call.
Fantasy tips, Matt, on Twitter. Hit me up at Laffy_D. We'll catch you back here Monday. Have a great weekend, everyone. Peace.